Battleborn, for as upbeat and fun as its campaign can be, is centered around a super dark concept. Literally almost the entire universe has been permanently destroyed. Monuments meant to stand forever are gone, putting Ozymandias to shame. Countless types of life have been wiped out in a second, entire solar systems darkened by the Varelsi. The sheer amount of lost knowledge, culture, and above all else, organic life is horrifying. When combined with some of the lore entries in the game, it shows the Varelsi in all of their scope. They truly are a cosmic horror almost befitting of H.P. Lovecraft. While their pawns are seemingly destroyable, there's obviously something in the void beyond human comprehension that's behind everything. Members of the Battleborn have lost wives, parents, children, some their entire species before their very eyes. With that said, the narrative of Battleborn's campaign is one of futile hope. The team's goal is obviously to stop Solus, which, I might add, is a bit on the nose in terms of naming, Gearbox. I took Latin, I see your dead language puns. To stop Solus from falling as well. To avoid spoilers, I won't comment on what happens in the end of the campaign, only that none of it matters. Regardless of the fate of the star itself, everyone left alive is doomed. First is the most hypothetical, but the most rapid. Infectious disease. This has posed a threat to literally every culture in the history of mankind, and unfortunately, Solus is extremely vulnerable to it. First and foremost is our overpopulation. Everyone alive in the universe has made their way to Solus. Beyond that, there's the limited living space. Whether it be in the closed-off Ark fleet, the cramped Bliss colonies, or the city-like echelons of Tempest. Lots of people in a small space has historically proved to be a festival for infectious disease, and there's still more factors tied to it. Solus is a war zone, which carries two more risks. First is the simple disgusting nature of abandoned bodies and decomposition. Take a look at the mission The Algorithm or The Void's Edge. There are dead human UPR soldiers all over those bases. And then ultimately, there's the scariest threat from disease, intentional infection. Now, I'm not talking zombies or anything, but instead, bioweapons. None of the factions are exactly following the Geneva Convention, so such warfare is very much on the table. Hell, several Battleborn already employ bioweapons. Melka's venom, Miko's entire existence and his molecular mycology, or Pendle's straight-up airborne poison. While these are more active weapons, if one person or a population was to be infected with a serious viral agent, it would be the end of most, if not all, of Solus, even with advanced medicine and science. And with all the mysteriousness of the Varelsi, who's to say they couldn't create some parallel? Next, we have something much slower, but very, very certain. The gradual stripping of all of Solus's resources. If I can bring back the topic of overcrowding, it poses another huge threat. There's only so much Solus to go around. There's already been some of this, mind you. Take, for example, the land struggle and straight-up war between the UPR and the Eldred. And while there could always be the option of space colonies, think the LLC Ark Fleet or the Detritus Ring, that would still cost an insane amount of natural and manufactured resources, and furthermore, still leaves a huge resource issue: food and water. With the existing issue of overcrowding a relatively small space, there's the need to feed the people of Solus, which chains into the next issue. Then there's the fact that Solus is prime for and vulnerable to social unrest, something a food shortage would prime even more. Hell, the Degenerate faction has already seen at least 5 or 6 civil wars. It was founded on one, saw 3 rising ups of the lower class thralls, and of course there was the civil war over Rendain's coup. All of the factions have their issues among their own people. The Eldred are significantly weakened and vulnerable, the UPR is oppressive and largely useless, the Rogues are scattered and ununited, the LLC are capital-obsessed sociopaths, and the Degenerate, well, they're overimposing cold imperialistic bastards who still use a caste system. Solus is maintaining an awkward peace despite rough histories. If one of the factions were to suddenly be struck by a significant peaceful or militant movement, which might stem from one of the issues I mentioned earlier or any other number of reasons, it would leave the faction weakened, and I have little doubt it would compromise the peace. Think metaphorically. If your family was starving in a post-apocalyptic world, would you stand and watch another family fight among themselves over food? Or would you try and take their stuff while they're vulnerable or distracted? That brings me to my last point. There's ultimately no way whatsoever for peace among the factions to last in Solus. The rogues thrive off of crime, the degenerates seek personal power and recognition, and are a warlike people. The LLC seeks to war profiteer at all costs. The UPR seeks colonization and expansion, and the Eldred have a militant desire to be left alone. This isn't the Breakfast Club. These are ideologically opposite spacefaring governments. When it comes time to decide who gets the last few shards or plate of Alpian pork, every one of the factions will undoubtedly put their needs above the others, as they are obligated to do. Sure, these might not kill everyone, but they'll largely mark a massive crippling death toll or decline of life. The degenerate sustained will likely fare alright with their invulnerability to disease and difficulty to kill, and other entities like Miko or Kelvin might be fine if they survive conflicts. But even if some survive, it's still too little. Varelsi incursions are an inevitable fact in Solus now. Rendane is not the Solus threat, he's merely aiding the Varelsi. His heliophage simply speeds up darkening, meaning the Varelsi are quite capable of doing it themselves. Some might survive the initial struggle, but ultimately, it's all a lost cause. As dark as all of this is, I guess that's the beauty of the story of Battleborn. We've seen countless game narratives of, we have to save the universe, but fewer take the approach of, okay, so almost everything is effed already, but I guess we could try and not die here. And fewer still deal with the fact that the straightforward battle is only one part of things. It's hugely reflective of the characters who side with Galt. A few of them straight up acknowledge how screwed they, their faction, or the universe are, and yet they still fight, because it's the right thing to do. No one ever accused the human spirit of being smart, but it is infinitely sturdy and hopeful. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope this didn't bum you out too much. I tried to end on a more cheerful note, and if you like this, likes, subscribes, and comments are hugely supportive of a small channel like mine. If you want to help me directly, consider backing me on Patreon. Until next time, beautiful people.